Idaho Matters podcast is brought to you by St. Luke's On Demand Virtual Care, which allows patients to see a provider from their home using a computer or smartphone with on demand care for common ailments such as a cough, sore throat, or a sinus issue. More information at stlukesonline.org. From Boundary to Bear Lake, Fremont to Payette, Oahe to Oneida, there are interesting people, places, and histories in all of Idaho's counties. And Idaho Matters wants to share it with you with stories from all 44 counties that make up the Gem State. Email your ideas to idahomatters@boisestate.edu or use the Talk to Us feature in our app, available on Apple and Android, and tune in each weekday at noon for Idaho Matters. From the studios of Boise State Public Radio News, I'm Gemma Gaudette. More Idaho Matters right now. You know, it's that time of year when many of us are looking for a really good book to read. Well, look no farther. Sarah Adler's new novel, Finders Keepers, is the perfect summer read. And we're lucky enough to have Sarah joining us today to chat more. Sarah, really nice to have you on the show.
I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, Sarah, talk to us a little bit about this newest novel. Kind of give us a brief summary of the book.
Yeah, so Finders Keepers is my estranged childhood friends to lovers treasure hunt rom-com, where two 30-somethings wind up back in their hometown for the summer and decide to resume the local treasure hunt that originally ruined their relationship 17 years ago. And it's a lot of fun, hopefully. And there is a 19th century seltzer magnate. And yeah, I mean, chaos ensues per usual.
So, one of the things that I really appreciate about your books and even kind of how you describe your books is that you say you write comedies about lovable weirdos finding their happily ever after. Talk to us a little bit about that. And I mean, because your characters are a bit quirky, but I think they feel more real in a way because of that.
Yeah, I mean, I consider myself a hopefully lovable weirdo. And I'm very drawn to lovable weirdos in general, both in media and in real life. And I think those are people who deserve happily ever afters just as much as the non weirdos. And I like to bring in some weirdo rep. And yeah, so I do go for the quirky because it is funnier, it's interesting, and I think a lot of people, even if it's like deep down, are weirdos.
So I want to go back a moment and talk a little bit about your very first novel, Mrs. Nash's Ashes. I read this and loved it, and it became such a hit. What was that like for you to, to not just, write this book and get it out in the world, but then have it become so popular? And I mean, it was a USA Today bestseller. I mean, it was selected as a New York Public Library Best Book of 23. I mean, is there some pressure now after having done so well with a first book?
There is pressure. I think I felt the pressure even before, just because getting it published kind of was a whirlwind experience. Everything kind of was best case scenario with that one, and there was a lot of imposter syndrome involved. And then,
Mm.
thankfully, it did really well. It really benefited from generous people who read it and talked about it, especially author Jasmine Guillory, who very kindly recommended it on the Today Show, and some very nice influencers on Instagram talked about it a lot and kind of spread the word for me. And I got really lucky that people loved it and were willing to talk about it. And that is really the best form of marketing for an author. If you love a book, tell people about it.
Well, and to have someone like Jasmine Guillory do that for you, right, and recommend the book. I mean, we've chatted with her a couple of times, and not only do I love her books, I mean, she's wonderful. So what was that like for you? I mean, there she is on the Today Show saying, hey, read this book.
It was surreal when I got the email telling me that was going to be happening, and on Memorial Day, no less. One of the best beach read recommendations. I
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. And Jasmine is such a kind person, so generous, and she's always willing to help out authors who are just starting out, and she's given me such great advice, and it's authors that are more established who are willing to do that, that are really,
Mm.
what I'm most thankful for in this business and what I try to emulate myself.
So this is your 3rd book of Finders Keepers. What's it been like now to have gone through the process 3 times and to be a more established author at this point?
I like to tell myself that now I know what's going on and that I can be really relaxed and chill about this. But I felt that last time around and then cried in my car the day of because my nails were the
Oh,
wrong color. It's one of those things where sometimes it feels like you're being pretty chill and then something happens and you realize, oh wait, maybe I do have some anxiety about this. Um, but I do think this time around I kind of know what to expect. I've released the kind of expectations that can make this a very stressful
mm,
process and know that a lot of this is out of my hands and um I'm also just so busy right now that I feel like it's a great distraction. My daughter's birthday just happened. It's the end of the school year. We've got summer camp starting. We had to replace all our smoke alarms. Our dishwasher broke. Lots of stuff helping me remember that my career is definitely not all that I need to think about.
okay, can I tell you how much I appreciate you just describing your life because it sounds like everybody else's, right? And I think sometimes, I mean, I'm such a huge reader that and I think of these authors and like you, 3 books down and I'm just so in awe of that. And I'm like, okay, your dishwasher breaks too. Okay. Like it's
Yeah.
we're all alike in some ways.
Yes, we are almost all really aggressively normal people. In fact, I I've started to get recognized around my town, which is really flattering, but half of the time I'm wearing like a stained sweatshirt at Costco. It's like, this isn't really how I want to be seen, but I'm not also not gonna put on a full face of makeup every time I go out of my house. So yeah, most of us are just strange people who write and then run errands and have kids or partners or pets. And yeah, we're all pretty normal people. And
Yeah.
I love that because so many people in this business are just so kind and helpful and wonderful. And it's nice to have that sort of cohort.
Let's get back to this new book, Finders Keepers, for a minute, because one of as you mentioned, Nina and Quentin are, they were friends when they were kids, kind of went on this treasure hunt, um, and now they kind of want to finish this. Where did you come up with this idea? Because, as you said, it's this 19th century seltzer magnet of all things, right? But I love the
Mhm.
idea, because like I can imagine kids going on treasure hunts, right? We all did that as kids. But then fast forward and you're like, okay, well maybe that's actually real.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was heavily influenced by reading The Westing Game in 5th grade. I really love that
Mm,
book. It holds up really well, actually, even though it was written, I believe, in the 70s. Um, and of course, that is not a rom-com, although I think some of
right.
the characters do find love, but it's more of a middle grade book. Um, and I really liked the idea of a wealthy, eccentric person basically toying with a bunch of people and saying, "Hey, go find this thing."
Hmm.
And it was a lot of fun to create the character of Fountain because I think maybe there's some part of him deep inside of myself because his voice came really easily to me, like worryingly easy. So maybe I am an eccentric seltzer magnet at heart.
I love that so much. And talk a little bit about these characters, in particular Nina, because she kind of, I mean, she really definitely goes on a journey because at the beginning of the novel, life is good. And then man, it implodes.
Yeah, we first meet Nina when she's returning home after a really bad 72 hours in which she lost her job and her apartment and her boyfriend. And she is kind of coming back to Maryland and hoping to sort of get back on her feet and lick her wounds and figure things out because everything she'd been working towards kind of disappeared very suddenly. And Nina has anxiety. She has an anxiety disorder And it
Mhm.
meant a lot to me to write a character who was dealing with generalized anxiety as someone who also does, and what that can look like when it's kind of under control, but in a stressful moment. Some of the coping strategies she uses, she likes to think about the best, the worst, and the most likely scenarios for different outcomes. And that's something I do myself, and I know a lot of other people with anxiety do as well. So yeah, Nina is somebody that hope is very relatable, especially to people who have had to sort of suddenly pivot. And I hope that people will relate to the idea of kind of starting over in your 30s after you've told yourself this story about your life for so long.
And can we talk about this seltzer magnet, because he really is the third character in the book. I mean, even though Nina and Quentin are the main characters, um, as you said, his voice came easily to you, and I really enjoyed that it was like he was interacting with the characters, but not. How did you? I mean, was that kind of part of it when you were thinking of this? It's like because he's long gone, yet he's had such an impact and continues that you really feel him as another character in the book.
I have always wanted to write a book that included oral history transcripts as part of it, and I felt like this was a perfect time to do that because I've set it up so that Fountain is being interviewed by a works progress administration employee named Albert Aaron, who is interviewing him as someone prominent in industry during the 1930s. And so I feel like that kind of helps it feel like he is talking directly to the reader. But in
Mm.
reality, he's talking to Albert Aaron, who is really fed up with this really strange man who keeps playing mean tricks on him and being kind of rude. But I really enjoyed getting to write in that format and do some research on what those transcripts look like. Of course, those transcripts are more focused on the lower classes and minorities versus wealthy
Mhm.
industrialists. But it was fun to borrow from that little piece of history, and the behind the book essay talks a little bit more about those sources, and that was a lot of fun for me to explore.
What are you hoping folks take away from this book? I mean, besides it just being, I think, a great summer read, which we all look for this time of year, but is there kind of a hope that you have about the book and what readers, as I said, take away from it?
I think something that I've learned over the last few years, maybe the last decade, is that you can kind of plan your life. You can have all the spreadsheets you want,
Mhm.
and pursue degrees, and you can try your best to shape your life in a way that you kind of imagine would be ideal. But you have no control over outside forces. They're going to come to get you, whether you want them to or not. And there's always the opportunity to pivot. I think that's an important lesson of this book is that just because things don't look like you thought they would doesn't mean that you can't find something else or something that might actually be better. Um, the stories we tell ourselves about who we are, we can change those stories if we want. We're in control of it.
I love that. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for taking time to talk with us. Really appreciate it. We've been talking with author Sarah Adler about her new novel, Finders Keepers. And that'll do it for this episode of Idaho Matters. Thanks so much for listening. And just a reminder, you can find all of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts.